This is the Public Art Advisory Committee, Tuesday, March 8th at 4:30 p.m. This meeting is compliant with the Ralph M. Brown Act as amended by California Assembly Bill number 361, effective September 16th, 2021, providing for a public health emergency exception to the standard teleconference rules required by the Brown Act. The purpose of this is to provide a safe environment for the public, staff, and the subcommittee while allowing for public participation. The public may address the subcommittee using exclusively remote public comment options. The subcommittee may take action on any items listed in the agenda. Remote public comments. Meeting participants are encouraged to submit public comments in writing in advance of the meeting. Aside from commenting while in the Zoom meeting, the following email and text line will be monitored during the meeting, and public comments received will be noted for the record during public comment or during an item. May email aibera@brisbaneca.org. Text 415-407-2675. All right, let's take roll call. Councilmember Cunningham.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Park and Rec Commissioner Greenlee.
Here.
Committee Member Danette Davis.
Here.
Committee Member Grossman.
Here.
And at the moment, Ms. Salmon is not here. Okay. So approval of agenda.
We're gonna, at the end of the meeting, we'd like to do the chair that we talked about last time.
Yes.
Okay.
Move
right.
to approve.
Second.
All right.
Anybody opposed to the agenda?
Nope.
Okay. So approval, Councilmember Cunningham,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Park and Rec Commissioner Greenlee,
Approved.
Committee Member Jeanette Davis,
Aye.
Committee Member Beth Grossman.
Aye.
All right. Approval of minutes. Approved minutes from February 1st, 2022, Public Art Advisory Committee. Is it fine? Anyone have any changes or? Is it approved?
Approved.
Approved.
That was Karen first. Who was second?
I think it was Lisa first, Karen second.
Oh. Okay. Councilmember Cunningham,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Park and Rec Commissioner Greenlee,
Aye.
Committee Member Jeanette Davis,
Aye.
Committee Member Grossman.
Aye.
All right. Presentation discussion items. Discuss obtaining curatorial services for community park art elements. Stuart?
So, yes. So I outlined for you what I found from other cities for what would be required, what would be in an RFP for curatorial services. So what I was thinking we could do is go through each of the different areas, talk about what you would like to see in the different sections to make sure that I can get this out to the, put this out for proposals. And what I would do is after we talk about what you want to see and everything, I would draft it, bring it back for your approval, and then send it out to different sources to looking for curatorial services. I will say one of the things that when I was doing the research for this, a lot of the cities included the cost of the art project along with the curatorial services. And I was thinking we wanted to separate the two. Was more of my thought, that we wanted to have the curatorial service be one aspect, and then after working with whoever we hire for curatorial services, work on a budget for the art elements themselves, is what I was thinking. So we need to talk a little bit about what would be an appropriate budget for this, because it was kind of all over the board. And I think the idea would be is that we'd want to pay, you know, maybe 5 or 10% of what we think the overall art project might be, but I'm not sure. Because, you know, I was looking at some things that we're talking about, you know, $30,000 including the art. I was looking at other ones that said $50,000 including the art. So it's just kind of a hard one to say what this will actually be for. So I'm hoping that, Beth or Lisa, you might have a better understanding of what this might cost us. So anyway, if we can go from the top and talk about the area to be used for the artwork. And I think, Angel, you have the Google map of the park itself, or the area behind the bathroom that we can look at. Okay. So I pulled this from Google Maps, as you can tell. And part of the question is do we want to use this entire area? Are there only certain aspects of this area that we want to use? I mean, we already know that the area directly behind the bathroom has some of our fire hydrants as part of it. And so do we want to incorporate the fire hydrants as part of the art elements, or do we want to have the fire hydrants be separate from the art elements? And also, this is the area where we do have fire hydrants right now. We may be adding more over the years as different fire hydrants get retired and are replaced. So that might be another aspect of what we, because if the fire hydrant park next to Julie's is pretty much full. So we were looking for other areas for that, and we thought that this would be a good area. So in the future, we might be adding additional fire hydrants here, or if we want to say that this is the last of the fire hydrants that we have here, and then we find a different spot in the city for, if we need to retire fire hydrants in the future. So I'm just wondering, do you want to use this entire area? Do you want to only use the area not including the fire hydrants? Do you want to go all the way down as far as you can to Old County, down to Bayshore? Or do you want to just use the area that's more or less mapped out here? And then, the question is going to be is how does it interact with the trees as well as you move further down? So I think part of the question is where do we want to do? Where do we want it? And then I think, and that may depend on what is actually determined to be the art elements. So you might want to say that the entire area is available. And then by working with somebody to figure out exactly, what types of art elements you would like to incorporate, then figure out, where that might be best. Lisa, I see your hand up.
Oh.
And then I see Danette after that.
Yeah, I think we should give a blank canvas and just say this is the area. I don't think we should worry too much about the fire hydrants. They can easily be moved, and they can go, maybe they can go over by City Hall somewhere. But I think that the area that we're going to be developing for an art project or some kind of installation should be just a blank canvas for whoever's going to be working with it. And, the fire hydrants are secondary in my opinion, but I don't know how far down were we talking about? We're not just talking about, we're talking about the whole picnic area, those 2 picnic sites and that pathway that goes through it.
We could be, I think we could go further down if the
We
committee
could go
would like.
further down. Yeah, but it gets pretty steep past the picnic area.
It gets steep and you get the trees and it becomes right.
Yeah.
I mean, but you
Yeah.
also have the pathway going down from San Francisco
Mhm.
down
that's true.
to Old County, and that may be another element, another place where art elements may be appropriate.
Maybe. I don't know. I still think that maybe just this park area, this arm of the park,
Okay.
although there were discussions in the Park and Rec department about possibly putting a bocce court in there somewhere at some point. And I thought that was going to be kind of the area, but I could be wrong. So
There's been discussions about bocce like all over the city, to be honest. Like we're always talking about a bocce going somewhere. Like at the marina, we've been discussing putting bocce at the marina too. So I would say we should just move forward with what we want to do, because locations for bocce have been thrown all over the place.
yeah, Okay, so that was just my fire hydrant. I don't think those should be worried about too much. They can be moved.
Angel, note that Camille joined us. You probably already did because you let her in. Never mind. Danette?
Yeah, that was my, the question I was gonna make was whether or not the fire hydrants could be relocated and what that involved so that we had more flexibility. So, I mean, I think it would be great to have a piece in an area that's not so far and isolated where it will still get enough foot traffic. But I think it would be great if we, I guess the question is, can the fire hydrants be relocated without a problem? And then we have more flexibility. And at some point, I think that we kind of just need to have a quick field trip to go down there maybe as well. I think that would be beneficial.
We can always relocate the fire hydrants. I mean, we put them there ourselves. So we can always, you know, I mean, obviously there will be a time and cost to it. And then the other question will be is where in the city do we want to put the fire hydrants for the future? To have enough room for, you know, to add to it. And yeah, maybe at this point in time, we don't know. And so maybe we store them back at the courtyard until, you know, after this project is done, until we have another permanent location for them. Or we wait to see what the art project looks like and then say, can we incorporate the fire hydrants here in a, maybe in a slightly different configuration in a different area. So, I mean, I think I would agree with Madison. I wouldn't use, and Lisa, I wouldn't say the fire hydrants are a constraint. I just wanted to make sure that the committee was thinking about that as an aspect of it.
I just think if the piece of art we end up selecting requires us to move them, we can cross that bridge when we get there. I would hate us to like spend all this time talking about something that ends up like not even being relevant later.
Right. Okay.
Great, agreed.
So what I'm hearing from the committee is that we would use it. Part of the project description, when I talk about area to be used for the artwork, would be the 2 picnic areas that are located behind the rest. Camille, you're on mute though, so.
I agree that should go out. I mean, sorry for being late. The internet's been going in and out. But the thing is that if we're going to put out a request, then the request, people are going to be seeing that space. Somewhere in that request, it should be noted that if the fire hydrants need to be moved for their particular vision, that's possible. Because I think that's important that an artist who may be looking at that space may either on several things, may say, I'm not interested, this is dictating it, or I'm interested and I'd like to include it, or what is that? So I just think when we put the information out for the artist, it should be noted that what is there can be utilized or can be moved for the artist.
Right. I mean, I think that would be part of the conversation. I mean, I'll describe that for the curator, and then the curator, when they put out the proposal for the artists, would include that. That makes sense. Okay, first one done. The next one.
I'm sorry, just to
Oh.
clarify, so we're talking all the way from basically here, all the way here, correct? This whole
That-
area?
That is my understanding.
Okay. Great.
Lisa?
Sorry.
I'm not sure we want to get rid of that many picnic areas. I mean, then that only leaves us with how many picnic areas on the other side?
I don't think we're getting rid of them. I think we're just,
Oh,
we would just be
okay.
moving the
This
fire
is
hydrants,
what-
not necessarily the picnic area.
Got
I
it.
think what we're saying is that this is the space and they utilize it. The one thing that can be moved is the fire hydrants, and they should be aware of that.
But
Okay,
The picnic
okay.
tables wouldn't be moved, I wouldn't think.
No,
okay, all right. But all right, well, I'm not even gonna go there. Okay, thanks.
I mean, that would be, I think, a question that the Parks and Recreation Commission would have to weigh in on
Mm-hmm.
whether or not with the picnic tables moving. I think from an art perspective, if we can do it, if it gets to that point that we think that the picnic tables need to move, then I think we need to have a bigger conversation with the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Okay,
Those picnic tables are used all the time. I mean,
yeah,
you just see like a single person sitting there quietly reading a book or newspaper, and then families having their picnics and whatever. I think it would be not a great idea to move them, but that's just.
Right, and people eat there at lunchtime for shade.
Yeah, absolutely.
well, yeah, exactly. So the art to be considered would be adjacent, around, maybe above, you know, somehow interacting with the picnic areas. Or it could be just a focus that's kind of off to the side, that's its own thing, you know, like a water element or something
Right.
that's off to the side. But this whole area, which I think is rather large, could be considered a possible site or sites for whatever project goes in. Just to be clear.
You know, I think that's something else that we would have to put out there, is that the area is very well used by a lot of different types of people, including children. So, you know, we don't want an artist to be putting something in that's fragile, or, you know, so they know that that entire area is well trafficked for a lot of different people.
Right, yeah, I would agree, and I think that would be a conversation with whoever we hire to help us find an artist for this, as opposed to putting that out for the curator, is my impression. But I agree with you, Karen, that, you know, I think when we get to the point of hiring an artist, we need to describe how the area is used, so the artist can imagine how a piece of artwork or art elements would go into it. Because as Lisa says, you know, if it's water, that's not really, may not be considered an artwork, but an art element, or maybe many art elements that go in. It'll be an interesting conversation with whoever we find to help us reimagine that space. Which leads to the next question, which is, what type of experience do you want to have this person or organization? Because as you can see, the next question is, you know, who can apply? Are we just going to have art professionals, nonprofit organizations, art centers, art galleries? And depending on who you have apply, you may get very different kinds of resources available to you. So if you do art gallery, you know, if you have art galleries able to propose, you may have people who they have as part of their art gallery, quote unquote, stable, be available, or if you have art centers. So I think, you know, when we try to talk about the experience expected from the curator and who can apply, I think those are good. I think that's an interesting question for the committee to weigh in on. Camille, I saw you put your hand up first.
Yeah, we're talking about someone who is going to curate and manage this particular project, not the artist. Is that, I just want to be
Correct.
Thank you. And wouldn't we, no matter what, in looking for this, decide, say it's, you know, as a committee decide, knowing that it's outside, it's a nature bound, and put these things in it, and then before we decide who can apply, just to see who applies?
Well, you might want to say that they have to have experience in working outdoors, as opposed to somebody who only does indoor work. I mean, that might be one of the, you know, that might be one of the things that you want to see as the experience that they've done other outdoor projects.
As a curator.
As a curator.
Mm.
I, you know, as I said, this is the reason why I'm trying to go through, you know, I looked at what other proposals had, and this was an aspect of other proposals, and I want to make sure that we have it covered.
I agree. I was just wondering, wouldn't we, if we've got a whole bunch of things back where we read and this person had no outside experience, we'd say, get rid of this person? I don't know. I throw broad nets, but that doesn't mean we should. That's all.
I mean, my
fine.
concern with that is that then that's like another, I think there are some things that we could easily agree on, like, hey, they should have experience with outdoor work. They should have experience, you know, they should have done something like this before. And because then we could just get so much that it's then so much more work for the committee to like go through that many more applications, when I think if we had some guidelines of what we were looking for, it might just help us get a little bit more focused candidates that meet, that meet what we want. But I think they don't have to be so specific that we can't get a good amount of people who are interested in applying.
Yeah, I agree that we need to have the specifics of what their qualifications are, because it's not fair to the person who's going to spend the time applying if they're not even going to be considered, because they don't have, at the very least, the outdoor experience. But I think we need to think of what are the things that we want them to have. And then the other thing too is that when I think of a curator, I think of somebody who is putting together a exhibition, or a different artist, or some kind of a project. And so I'm thinking that the word curator may throw people off too, and it would probably be more something like an art consultant in this case.
Mhm. Yes, I think that the word curator sometimes means that you're managing art that already exists, and we're just trying to get a blank piece of canvas to an artist that's appropriate.
Okay. I'll make that note. No, we're looking for an art consultant.
I definitely think whoever it is should definitely have on their portfolio or whatever, or their experience having worked in public park. This is a real public park. And I think that is different than just a nature area, or an area that, an area that's in, what am I trying to say? That's kind of a transit area. It's really a public park. And I think that would be really helpful if someone has ever dealt with that kind of space before.
So would you say a public park, or, because I can see like there's people who may have helped corporations do their public space.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be a public park per se, but it would be public spaces.
Yeah.
Highly trafficked, can't pronounce the word, sorry. Public
Traffic.
spaces might be the way to describe what you're saying, Lisa. To give it a broader perspective, maybe.
Well, it's not heavily trafficked. It's also used as accessible public park space.
Okay. Yep. I see Angel's taking good notes. It makes me happy because I don't have to.
Thanks, Angel.
Are there, Beth?
I was just also wondering if we had made the decision about whether or not it was going to be temporary or permanent. Or if that's still up for decision.
I think that should be up for, I think maybe like we'll know when we see it. I think we should allow like consider both types of art, and there might be something that we really connect with that could fall into either category. And then maybe at that time we could decide.
Then it would need to go into the RFP. Or the,
I would include both. That it could either be permanent art or transitory art.
temporary.
Temporary, not transitory.
Not trans-
Temporary.
I really like the way, when I was reading Belmont's notes, when I was reading Belmont's papers, what are their plan, that they had short-term versus long-term projects. And, the short-term being ones that had a certain lifespan that was shorter than things that were really built into something that was way more permanent.
Okay, I can use those terms, short term or long term. installations? No.
No,
that doesn't
No,
occur.
no.
permanent, temporary. It's confusing otherwise.
Okay.
Short-term or long-term would be a participatory or a presence of somebody. The terminology is temporary and permanent.
Okay,
Because then we're going to have to get into what is long-term, what is temporary, and we don't know that to begin with. So
That's
it
true.
either all of a sudden belongs to the space and the city and the citizens, or it's there for a visit.
okay.
Mhm. That's a good way of putting it.
Any other experience that you're thinking of that you would like from the consultant?
Well, I think in reading, I can't remember which one it was, the Reno I think it was the Belmont, that they were describing some problem that they had when no, it was Reno. They had a Michael Heiser piece with all of the metal thing that showed up, and the community was really upset about it, which everyone gets upset about Michael Heiser's work, understandably. So I think that our consultant should have some experience with working with the community in some way. Because otherwise otherwise we're going to run into that same problem that Reno had.
That's a very good comment.
Very good.
Any other experiences that you would like? Okay. So the next question is who would you let apply? Would you let just art professionals, nonprofit organizations, art centers, art galleries? I mean, that's the whole kind of gamut of what's out there. Or is there no, are like everybody can apply and who has the experience in some fashion?
I wouldn't put restrictions on it personally.
Okay,
I wouldn't either. I'd like to be surprised.
Mhm.
I feel like they'd weed themselves out anyways, if we said, outdoor spaces and things like that, giving them some sort of a general ideas anyway. So,
Beth?
Well, I'm trying to put myself in the position, if I was to see this RFP, like, are artists allowed to apply directly, or do they have to work through a consultant? Do they have to bring with them some kind of a nonprofit or some kind of agency? I think that it has to be really clear. Otherwise, the artists aren't going to know what to do. And you may get either a lot of artists applying in this round when we're really looking for a consultant, or you might not have them apply if that's what you're hoping to have. I'm not clear. So I guess we have to figure out how to make it clear.
Mhm.
Okay, Camille?
Well, I was just gonna say two things. I think when we're doing this, the clarity, at least my understanding, was that this is someone who is going to consult and work with the community and the art community and help facilitating the best artists, not only reach out to various artists or organizations, but those that can help us facilitate getting what we need there in a clarity as well as managing it. So to that extent, I think that there are actual artists who, they're not a lot, but they're actual artists who have dealt with city and organizational hurdles to reach out and work with communities to have someone create something for an art in that space. So that, I guess all I'm saying is that it's okay, Beth, is what I guess I'm saying, as an artist, for them to apply.
Would it be okay for the person who does this to get the final commission?
No,
Okay,
at least for me, because that's not what we're asking. We're asking for a different we're asking, in other words, the person who got the final, it's true. The person who got the final commission was the person who was actually brought to and helped lead it with the consultant.
and us. Does that make sense? Otherwise, if you're looking at it in that way.
That's why that's why I'm asking the question, Danette.
Okay, so I'm confused now. I thought we were looking for a consultant. So isn't then that, wouldn't that just be a consultant, or is it a nonprofit organization that's a consultant, or an artist that's so I'm now confused. We're trying to find somebody, that's what they do, right? That they're a consultant to help us on this project to then find the artist, right?
Correct. And it could be an artist, an organization, or a nonprofit. That actually, that's what they do, is consult with other organizations or other artist communities or communities themselves to help them find something that works, and not only help them find it, but to help negotiate how this is going to be.
So is an organization like a consulting firm, an art consulting firm? Is that what how does that different than a non-profit? Now I need some clarification on that.
Beth, I see your hand up.
Yeah, well, Danette, you're right to be confused, because it is, we have to, if we're going to put anything out publicly, we have to be absolutely clear what we're looking for. And, I'm starting to feel like we need to really know what we want this art consultant to do. And that we also need to know that that art consultant has access and knows a lot of different artists to be able to ask them to, like apply. And then the question is really like, are they going to be handling the sort of narrowing down the options? Will they invite, let's say, 25, 30 artists to apply, and then they narrow it down and then present the final 2, 3 to 4 to us, and then we decide from there? I mean, I think we need to figure out also probably how other cities do this. I do know that a lot of cities have their own registry of artists. They're pre-approved artists. It's like a pool that artists apply for. San Jose has an application open at the moment, for example, because I get all this stuff in my mailbox all the time. San Francisco has it through the San Francisco Arts Commission. So these are all people who are like pre-approved, and then when there is a project, that goes out to that pool of people. And we want to cast that net as wide as possible. The problem with getting an art consultant is it depends, what circles they run in, and if they're going to all be a certain kind of artist or from a certain ethnic group or a certain age group or, whatever. And finding someone who really is willing to get who we are as a community, particularly in a space that's at the entrance to our town and really is going to be part of defining our identity, is going to be really important. So I'm not really sure how to go about this, but I think we need to talk to some other cities and find out how they do it. I think that all of this right now is really premature for where we are.
Should we just go out for an artist then instead of a consultant?
No.
No, we're going to stick to what we've talked about. and
Okay,
go
well, it
down
just makes
that
me,
path.
it just made me nervous because, she's right. Like, well, what if they run in certain circles, so then they're only going to invite certain types of artists? And like, I didn't ever really think about it that way. So I thought, we want to be the one that's limiting, not necessarily.
Well, but
that
we
person.
can make that part of our thing. We can say
Yes.
if that has nothing to do. Not only can the
Agreed.
consultant reach out to their circle, as a city, it can be reached out to broader, as committee members, they may run across someone and say, you should try and apply. And then then it'll all come in. So I don't think that we should concern ourselves with. I think it's what we at this moment, because we have so many plates on the, pots on the stove at the moment. I know that they're kind of steaming and boiling over into other places. But I think if what we are looking at is trying to at least make the step of saying, let's be clear on the fact that we want a consultant. I mean, historically from our meetings, what I thought we were doing is saying, this is a good practice run as a committee to see if we can find a consultant, then go in and and in the meantime, looking at the master plan, because we know that we need to do that. But to begin to understand what that process is, you know, and I agree, the more information we get and the more we hear from other cities is really important. But I also think it's on us to end up doing it. to
I
a
mean,
certain extent.
I would have thought that the consultant develops an RFP, RFQ that goes out to the broad range of artists, not just to the ones that the consultant knows about. Beth,
No, that's what's, they're only going to be able to reach the people that they know. So I just looked up, I still have the email of what San Jose is doing in terms of them developing a pre-approved database of artists. And so I think that that way they are doing it according to all the, you know, diversity rules and all that kind of stuff. It's like very dense to read. I can send it to you, Stuart, or to Angel or whoever, so that you can see how they're doing it. A lot of cities, probably Reno has it as well. And so that would be one thing. I think that the reason why we want a consultant in particular is that none of us wants to be out there when they're working with the landscapers and the architects and the, you know, the engineers and everybody that is going to be handling it. None of us wants to be out there managing that with the artist. And so there
Wait,
has to be somebody.
I know, but we're not having architects, engineers for this small art placement project. I mean, that's why I'm saying, I think we need to kind of separate what we're doing now from the master plan that includes all of Brisbane and the Baylands, which could be 20 years down the road. I don't think this consultant is being hired for the rest of their life.
I'm not saying that they are either, but Camille, if there's going to be kids that are going to be climbing all over this stuff, we're going to have to involve engineers on some level, no matter how small it is. I'm guessing.
If we want to have that type of element there, we may not want to have a type, because they already have the jungle gym on that side, and this side, you guys have talked about being more calming and quiet and, you know, more, you know.
Okay, well then if not an engineer, they're going to be working with landscape designers or something like that. You know what
But
I mean?
kids are also kids. They'll climb on anything. Doesn't
Exactly.
matter what it is. They're climbing it.
Yeah, exactly. But I know that none of us on this committee are going to be out there working with the artists and liaison between them and whether it's landscape designers, architects, or engineers. We need somebody that's going to do that liaison work.
Well, that's what a consultant does, and I don't think we need to be getting down into the weeds and creating problems that don't exist, quite frankly.
Lisa,
I see the consultant more as somebody, well, I mean, definitely somebody to manage the project, but that's in coordination with Park and Rec Department or the Public Works Department and all of the permitting things that are going on with that. That's kind of a management question, but as far as finding the art and presenting the artists, there are consultants that have done this for other cities. You know, I've been given names of people who've done it for many cities around the Bay Area and even beyond. And so all you do is just talk to these people and see if what their services are what we're looking for. But it's pretty standard. It's kind of not an open question. You know, they kind of come as a package.
Right. And also, if I'm not mistaken, just because my understanding, what I've experienced, when you get a consultant, they may have a particular circle that they are in constant communication with, but that doesn't stop us as as a committee in the city to not post ourselves on California Arts Council, all the, you know, as an organization, as a city entity.
And then
There's that.
I would anticipate that they would do that for us.
right.
Right. Or at least say, have you done, and give a list of the places that we want to make sure that they've reached out to.
I mean, I could put that as part
You know.
of their,
Working outside their circle, are they, you know,
Yeah,
we want to,
as part of their submittal requirements, I can say, where have you advertised for in the past or something.
Yeah, and I think the other part is to be willing.
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, to be willing to say, to open their circle of who they reach out to. And
Well,
take
and
that on, that's all.
And that's the major part of the job is, getting it out there and then presenting it to us as to what applications have come
Right.
through,
And I have to say, this is my 2 cents. I don't know well, we've never gotten 50, but let's say we got 50. I still don't necessarily need the consultant to give me the top 10. To be quite honest.
That's our decision, nobody else's. Yeah.
I think we got what, 25 for the library that, I presented all 25 to the committee that selected. Okay. The hard part is going to be the budget for me, because as I said, there wasn't any, when I looked up, there wasn't any real good information on that one. But I can check with other cities to see what other cities are paying for art consultants. And I think it's an aspect of the overall cost of the overall project, though.
Right, I agree. I think that's important. And if I'm not mistaken, Lisa, you've mentioned a couple of times that people. It would be
Yeah.
just interesting to find out what their fees are. Do you know what I mean? Just to give to us, not that we need to use them or whatever, but so that
Right.
since none of us don't seem to know what that going rate is or what that looks like, it would be a
Well,
good benchmark.
I'll reach
Yeah,
out to them.
I sent
Yeah.
two different people to the city already, and
Oh.
they have their contact numbers, so they
Yeah.
can ask that question.
We'll reach out to them.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Kind
What
of the
kind-
gathering.
What kind of timeline are you looking for this?
What did we have in the past, Stuart? Like for the library and then for the skate park? What were those timelines? I don't remember.
Well, those were looking for the artist itself. We usually did. I think we let the RFPs out for about a month to provide enough in time for people to apply. We then, I think, reviewed the submissions a couple of weeks thereafter. And then we did interviews probably 2 weeks after we reviewed the submissions and let the finalists know who we were interested in interviewing.
Is that enough time, a month? I don't know. I don't know if that's enough time.
For the art or for the consultant?
For the consultant
for
to
the
respond to an RFP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could leave it
that
out.
reasonable?
We could leave it out for 6 weeks.
Because with all of this, it's like not every consultant is going to be looking at these boards or whatever every single day. That might be like, oh, didn't realize that was there 2 weeks after it was posted or something. I don't know how this works. So that's why I'm asking the question.
We can leave it open longer. That's not.
Here's my question. So maybe we can all decide that. So first of all, do we have enough information to now get it together to send it out? Or does the committee want, before it's sent out, to read what's being sent out?
We need a review.
Okay, so that would mean that that's not going to go out until after the next meeting when we can review it. We can read it before and be prepared to review it at our next meeting. So once that happens, then it would go out. So we're actually looking closer to May. I'm just trying to get some kind of timeline. And so if it went out, let's say mid-May, then we would begin to make our decision in August.
Oh, that's long.
Well, I'm just saying mid-May, 6 weeks. Well, let's see, 6
Oh.
weeks is the end of July.
Okay,
Do you,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
And you
Yeah.
guys, I'm gone the entire month of July.
So if we have to, I mean, if you're looking at timelines, I'm just trying to give us a sensibility. It would be August before I have no prep. I'm just throwing out what that means.
So you probably do like have a committee meeting in August to review the submissions, and then hopefully do interviews sometime in September
Yeah,
after Labor Day.
that's really, I just wanted everybody to understand what that meant.
Danette?
Quick question, is there a recess that the city council takes during the summertime, and what's that time frame?
They're gone in July and August.
Yep.
It's normally like mid-July to like
Mid-September.
September.
Yeah, the last city council meeting is July 14th.
So my question then is, do city councils not do the subcommittees? Do they take the whole time off so that,
No, we do.
so then we're
We
looking at
don't have
September?
meetings, but like we don't have council meetings, but like we do still meet in
Right.
subcommittees if necessary. I think staff tries to limit, but we still do meet in subcommittee.
Right. I mean, normally like a committee might take like public, I think Parks and Recreation misses one meeting during the summer, I think. So, I mean, that would be if the committee wants to say that the month of July, there will be no committee meetings, makes sense. If people are going to be taking vacations during July, and then we would come back in August and in August review the submissions and have them, be ready to do interviews in September. Camille?
I'm just laughing because I know this is going to take a while. So when we talk about the timeline, I just thought it was important that we all realized what that meant.
You mean the slowness of the whole process?
Yeah, so that we should make sure that we're on our game. So if we were viewing something, we come going, okay, we got it. Because it's a process, and processes take a time. That's all. So I'm just laughing about the whole thing because I always think it's so funny.
Government is deliberative.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
government doesn't have a performance date or an opening date. That's the thing.
We anticipate we'll be here for at least another 100 years.
It's just there's no curtain time.
No. Getting it right is more important than getting it done fast.
Yes.
Oh, performance time has it right. Don't. Just
Really?
FYI. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't think all the artists who do plays would say they get it right every night, but that's okay.
Oh, that's an individual thing. That
Okay.
has nothing to do with curtain time.
Okay.
It's called artistic growth. Just to be clear.
Anyway. Okay. So we'll shoot for trying to get the interview sometime in the September timeframe. I would give a
I
background.
thought we said August
Well, we do the interviews in September. We get the everything back,
submissions.
submissions back,
Oh, yeah.
back
September
in hopefully
interviews.
July. Part of it will depend on when we're actually able to get the RFP out. I'll put together a background of the city. We'll do site details, how big it is, include the picture with that. And then the scope of work that we're expecting from the consultant would be that they would work with the committee to determine the type of artwork and the budget for the artwork. Develop an RFP or RFQ for artists, work with the committee to select the artist. Provide direction to the selected artist, serve as a liaison between the artist and the city, provide necessary information to the city regarding artwork and artists, monitor the schedule in coordination with the city, the artist oversee installation of the artwork. Does that all make sense? Camille? You actually went from not muted to muted.
Sorry. I
It's
just
okay.
have one question. Just to be clear, I thought that we were going to read the RFP for consultants at our next meeting.
You would actually do it in 2 meetings. The next meeting, we were going to talk about Belmont and Reno.
Yes, I understand that, but I
Yes.
also thought that we were going to add this to the agenda to okay, so that it can be sent out instead of waiting a month. Or I don't know, will it take longer to do the RFP?
It might take longer to do the
Okay,
RFP.
that's
I'll do
fine.
my best. I'll see if I can get it
Okay,
written by then.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what that meant. Thank you.
Madison, did you want to speak? I saw you light up. And Lisa called a timeout.
No, I just didn't want it to be like too much on our agenda. If we wanted, maybe we could move that up. I just don't know how like long we would anticipate going over the RFP if we needed to a lot, because I know it's going to be like, we're going to take a lot of time to go over the specific plans or the art, the art plans, the overview. So I
Okay.
don't know if that's like too ambitious to have both of those things on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we move the Belmont thing to another meeting? Since that's not time sensitive?
Well, it sounds like Stuart needs that extra time to
Yeah.
create the RFP, is what he had said.
If I
so.
can get a draft RFP written in time for the next meeting, I will do that.
Okay.
If not, I will get it onto the next. I'll let you know ahead of time and get it onto the next one.
Yeah, it'd be 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Right, but it's not 3 weeks, it's really
No.
2 because I have to get it done.
Yeah.
And in that 2 weeks, I got
tight.
other things I need to do. Camille?
Just agreeing that it's not only 3 weeks to get it done, but it's to get it done in time to be able to send it to the committee so that we can prepare
Right.
ourselves to discuss it. So I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying. That's all. Just
And then for the the submittal requirements, obviously the name, address, contact information, a cover letter is usually required, a resume or a vita, depending on, I mean, I saw the word resume, but I also know a CV is also might be the term. And I would, as opposed to curatorial portfolio, I'll say consultant portfolio, and, like show pictures of what you've done, what your consultant statement is, a cost proposal, and then obviously we'll put in there that, the city is an equal opportunity employer, just like we always do, and put we'll attach an agreement, the normal agreement from the city for professional services. Does that sound like we've everything that we need to have in the
I'm sorry,
RFP?
did it also say costs?
Yes,
Breakdown of costs? Okay.
cost proposal.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. I will work on that. Okay.
Shall we move on to item C? Discuss appointing a chair
And a vice chair.
and vice chair.
I move to appoint Camille Salmon. She does not look thrilled. She does not look thrilled.
Second.
Camille, you're muted, so obviously that must be a yes from what I can tell.
no.
No.
I
Camille
mean,
does-
Maybe vice chair?
I'm not the best person to lead meetings. Let me just put it to you this way. Well, I have a
think you're
tendency
great.
of, I have a tendency of breaking in, of saying, wait, stop, what did you mean? And all of that. So I just have to say that my process may not be the best to lead you guys in a meeting. Because I do. I mean, I do it to you guys. I go, wait, what was that? How? And I realize I'm not supposed to say anything.
I nominate Madison. She's good at organizing and knows the process. She's probably got a lot of experience in this. So,
Do you guys feel comfortable with a council member being in that position, or would that make you feel like, I know that there were like comments in the past with when we had some other, public art members that felt like, I think maybe some intimidation just by the mere fact that Karen and I are even on this body, and just felt like they couldn't be maybe free to express their thoughts, or that their thoughts maybe didn't matter as much compared to the thoughts of two council members. So, I would be happy to do that, but I really want to make sure from all of you that you would still feel comfortable expressing yourself with me in this position.
Good point.
Well, you could just nominate the next Parks and Recreation Commissioner who's going to be on it, and they don't have a choice then. Because you're missing one Parks and Recreation Commissioner from it.
So we will be getting
I'm
another one.
joking, of course.
Okay.
I was like, Stuart, what are you doing? You're sounding wild over there.
I was just thinking about how the meetings progress. I wasn't really thinking about a power structure. I was just saying if the meetings can progress in a certain order, I think I'm just not that, like Camille said, I'm just not that competent in linear speech. So that was just my impression. It wasn't really about power structure.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think that they're really, like, I don't know. I think that these things rotate so often, and everyone, like in other bodies, right, the mayor or the chair has like a significantly different role than everybody else, and there is like a difference in the power dynamic. I don't envision that being the case for this body, but I really, I want to be sensitive to that feedback that made its way around to me in one way or another. So I, would just want to make sure that you all were not uncomfortable with a council member as chair.
Fair question. I think everybody needs to comment.
We could nominate somebody
Okay,
else.
I was gonna say, I understand what you're saying to a certain extent, totally, Madison, and I agree that that's a bad place. Well, it's kind of giving you two things, city council power and head, and that's hard to be placed on your lap. So I totally understand what you're saying. That's a tough thing to pull along, because that's a lot. And I don't know how the rest of the committee feels. I mean, is there such a I would think that it should, personally, I think it should either be, myself, Danette, Beth, or, Lisa. I mean, and in truth, it should be one of the outside committee people. It should either be Danette, Beth, or myself, to be quite honest, because none of us, and to a certain extent, have worked within the city on another situation. Does that make sense? If anybody asks. And at the same time, I don't know if I don't want to do this. So does that make sense? I'm like, I'm just saying.
Well, you know what, Camille, I think you could do it. And I think what Madison said, we got a lot of flack from my perspective, no good reason at all. And this particular position needs to have somebody who has had, in my personal opinion, a lot of experience and business acumen, all those kind of things. And so that's why I wanted you. But I would be happy to have, Danette's got a ton of experience too. And if you're looking at people who are not on a committee or commission, it kind of rules, Madison, myself, and Lisa out of that game. So you guys, that's why I said you all have to say something here, because I don't want to be in a position where somebody's like, well, Madison Davis is on the city council and she's the chair of this and she's going to make that decision, and that's BS, but it is what it is.
That's why I said that's a lot to put on Madison, and it's a lot to put on you. And then to a certain extent with Lisa even being on the Park and Rec Commission.
Yep.
That's a lot of stuff to put on you. And so in that respect, I totally get what you're saying. And if Madison, Danette wants to do it, or them to do it, if no one wants to do it, I'll do it, but only under the condition that everybody takes my hand and lets me, and, or sometimes, has the safe word, which is, like, stop. But
I can tell you to stop.
So Danette, I see your hand up.
yes, go Danette.
I just want to say, I don't have a problem with anybody on the committee being a chairperson. Personally, I guess I don't really see that as a power play. I don't think I don't see it as a conflict of interest if it's a council person or a park and rec commissioner personally. I just think that it's somebody that the role is to move the meeting along and stay on the agenda and just try to stay focused and not go off the agenda. So I think, Camille or Madison or Karen, I mean, I don't have a problem with anybody personally. So that's my feedback, that I don't think there needs to be a criteria of who can and who can't. That's my opinion.
I agree with that, but you went on the receiving end of the flack that we got. So I am only saying that to protect myself, to protect Madison, and to protect Lisa from that stuff that didn't exist, but certain people wanted to make an issue, and they did. And they made a big issue. So there.
Beth?
Yeah, I agree that with Camille that it's a lot to put on, and anybody that has other committee or council responsibilities. And I think that either Danette or Camille would be great, and I would support that.
You
So
didn't say
Danette, do you want it then if Camille really doesn't want it? Sounds like it's honing in on you.
I'm fine to be chair. I can do that. I mean, I've done it a long time ago.
Dusting off those skills.
And then Camille, you can be the vice chair.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
So is that a motion?
I make that motion. Danette Davis as the chair and Camille Salmon as the vice chair.
Second.
I second.
Okay. Roll call. Member Cunningham,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Hi.
Park and Rec Commissioner Greenlee.
I
I don't know, committee member Danette Davis, are you allowed to vote for this? No, I don't think so. The committee member Grossman, any nays? All right. Congratulations, Danette. Congratulations, Camille.
Thank
I just want to say thank you guys for accepting to do this because it's just more work. Dog likes it too.
Okay, get down.
And I think with
All
that,
right.
we are,
Let me check real quick. I know I didn't get any text messages. Let me just confirm I didn't get any emails. Oh, good. Thank you, Beth. Stuart and I will look at that. I don't have any emails and no one has tried to come in, and I don't have any text. So I think we are ready to adjourn. Danette, would you like to adjourn the meeting?
and our next meeting will be
Oh,
March 29th at
Yes.
4:30.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
All right.
second.
Camille, a second? All right, so moved.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Adjourn.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.